So in this segment, I want to really talk about group practices, and uh, with Nikki Rasmussen here from Banyan and Paul Jones, they've been in this space for several years now, and they've helped both independent practices as well as group practices and some very large DSOs kind of um, establish, maintain, and nourish their social media presence, online reputation across geographies, sometimes multiple states. And obviously, as you grow an organization from one to many, it presents a new host of challenges in all departments, right? Staffing, uh, marketing, and one thing that I see in my experience in this industry has been that uh, lack of visibility starts happening a lot because you have so much data that everywhere, and you have all these practices. Sometimes they're on different systems. Um, how do you really make sense of all this data, and how do you really manage uh, this organization of 50 offices effectively? And we're talking today about online presence and social media. How do you effectively manage it? I mean, what have been your experiences in this space when you've dealt with um, uh, organizations that are group practices 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, even 400? Uh, who has done it right, and what are the things that how do you ensure that everybody does it? Number one. Number two, how do you make sure that the right people in the organization have the visibility of what's happening with their stuff? Because again, the ball gets dropped. There's too many balls up in the air. You have 50 offices. How do you manage all that stuff? How does Banyan help manage that process in terms of at least our sphere, which is online reputation, or uh, or the or the or the posts and all that stuff we're doing. And obviously the app plays a big role, so which is exciting because the app's scalable, which is what I love about it. But let's talk about that a little bit in terms of helping, because one of the conversations we're having nationwide right now is how do we help group practices scale to the next level? And part of that scaling is also scaling all this, the technology, uh, to apply it to a wider range of offices that you have.
I think that was a lot of questions.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to do my best.
Okay.
I'm going to do my best. I think just kind of a general overview, when you're going from a single practice to multi-location, it's such a different animal, right? So we had to, really put our heads together as to how we're going to make them just as successful on a larger scale, because it is coming from, the corporate practice to all the smaller practices. How are we going to get staff buy-in? How are we going to give them visibility into each of the individual practices? And I think that the way that we have facilitated the app is, yes, it works for a single office location, but DSOs thrive on it. And I'll let Paul talk a little bit more about the specifics, as this is his space.
Well, we've had a lot of trial and error over the last couple of years, and we're seeing so much growth in the DSO space that obviously, for us, what we've discovered is it really comes back down to transparency. We've got to be able to provide transparency to the executive team and to the corporate office.
Absolutely.
All the way down to the practice, because again, at the end of the day, a practice is involved in the community. So the big question is what is your community saying about you? So we provide metrics that allow the corporate office or the marketing team to really understand on a practice by practice level, what are the patients saying about themselves or saying about the practice. So we're really good at pulling out production numbers. Our practice management software is really good at pulling out all of those things, and we can look at those things at the end of the day. Well, we can look at those things, but at the end of the day, what is it that the patients are actually saying? And you've got your CSAT, customer satisfaction surveys, but what's existing out there online is going to give you some really good indicators of how the staff is performing. That post that the staff made or the comments that the patients are commenting about, those give you the qualitative data so that you can understand the unique experience that a practice is providing. And that's what comes That's what it's really all about is unique experiences that practices as a staff team can provide to the patients. So then you can influence that on the executive or corporate level or marketing team. And
But have you
stoke that
seen
fire.
the larger groups kind of dedicate a person to kind of coordinate this effort? Because
Totally.
somebody's got to have ownership
Yep.
of your online reputation or your review or your social media, and then how do you react then to a bad post, for example? What do you do? Because you have office number 55 over there. Somebody said really bad things. Who's who do you guys? What does the structure look like? Somebody at the office level does that. Somebody at the corporate level. Uh,
That is a great question, and we want to do it on the corporate level. In fact, the DSOs that we're working with that are the most successful, they've dedicated a single person to curating content, making sure that the content being posted represents the brand,
sure.
and then communicating back to the practices, giving them feedback on their posts, or saying, hey, on your reviews, we're seeing this start to trend. We're seeing that patients that go in and get endo are not having a good experience. What's going on here? So they've
That's
got to
powerful.
have the intelligence, the social intelligence, and not intelligence in terms of the brain, but in receiving intelligence from the patient experience so that they can go have those meaningful conversations with the practice office manager or with the staff.
So it kind of it's better that at a corporate level somebody to actually grab it by its horns and say, hey,
Yeah.
we're having this. So some of these, so in terms of metrics and visibility, do you guys provide that across, like, so they can see what office has what in reputation? Is there a system where they can say, oh, by the way, these offices in this neighborhood are doing really well. They have all these reviews. Can they see that um, quite easily?
Yeah, so we provide, and again, this has been through trial and error, but it goes back down to transparency. So we provide dashboards that allow them to look at, on a global level, all the offices that are doing well, all the
Sure.
offices that aren't doing well in terms of getting reviews or in terms of posting regularly.
Nice.
And then deeper than that is what is the aggregate? What is across the whole organization? What are patients saying that are good about those offices? What are patients saying that are not so good about those offices? So that then you can start to see trends across the org and say, wow, on a corporate level, we might need to tweak this one thing because 50 out of our 70 practices are saying that this part of the patient experience isn't good.
This is beautiful. See, this is where I say data. When you measure things, you can actually manage things better. And Drucker
Totally.
said that you really that this is how technology allows you to change behavior, because you are now uh, able to stratify that data into parts of who are the best, who are the not the best, who are in the middle, and kind of move up the stragglers back into the, and it helps, right? This is how behavior changes. So it's not only about, again, people think it's all about social media. I mean, and the buzzwords are there, but at the end of the day, if you are providing these organizations a tool that allows the team members who are not doing as well in terms of patient experience enhance that, then you're bringing up the entire organization. So this is beautiful. I mean, I think that you're solving one of the big problems there.
Well, we've said that technology doesn't transform organizations. Behavior change transforms organizations, and technology makes it possible and scalable. And so the behavior change aspect of this, we want to provide technology that gives insight into what behavior changes need to happen across the entire org or in a single practice.
That's exactly in line with what we've decided. All our dashboards that we show our customers are basically meant to change behaviors. Either reward good behavior, we're also doing that. We want to make sure when somebody does a good job, we reward them with a gold star or a silver star club because they're doing everything right. But when they're not optimal, we're giving them the training and the visibility in terms of, guys, by the way, you didn't answer 50% of your phone calls. I mean, why are you spending more money on marketing? So to really go to the root of the problem, and technology is I think both of our companies are using technology to go to the root, understand where the problems are, understand where the leaks are happening, and then kind of moving that organization uh, to really operate at its peak in terms of patient engagement, team engagement, and overall presence online and offline. So it really, this is wonderful. I think technology is going to start. I think we're already seeing new companies in this space that are changing the rules of the game. I think the next 10 years is going to be absolutely incredible as we see group practices scale. Um, um, we'll see a lot of new technologies coming in that are going to help elevate the experience or elevate whatever the operations are, whether it's scheduling, treatment planning, and obviously we're doing some of the stuff on the front end as well. So exciting times to be in dentistry.
And I think that we look to you guys in terms of thought leadership in being able to track these types of things. You guys have done a Patient Prism in particular has done a very fantastic job of being able to track all those metrics and bring that transparency into the practice.
Thank you.